'Cause I'm done cleaning up your mess. Found myself in my regrets. I've become a little stronger now. 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 You cashed in on my promises. You know I'm too generous. Now I've learned to never help you out. 'Cause I'm done cleaning up your mess. Found myself in my regrets. I've become a little stronger now. A little stronger now. Casting on my promises. You know I'm too generous. Now I've learned to never help you out. 'Cause I'm done cleaning up your mess. Found myself in my regrets. I've become a little stronger now. A little stronger now.
All right, folks. What's up, everybody? Who's ready for some Monday stuff? Monday Warhammer things and stuff.
I think the girls with their nails done. Girls with their nails done. I think the girls with their nails done.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the stream. We are live on Monday today. It's a little messy today. I'm on one screen right now, which is logistically more challenging than I anticipated. So I've got my phone here ready for chat. It's been an interesting weekend. A little bit light on singles events coverage. Obviously, we streamed the largest event of the weekend in terms of singles events at Richmond Open. I'm still in my hotel room, so this is going to be not a super long show because they're going to kick me out in an hour or so. But lots and lots and lots and lots of Team 40k, an insane amount of Team 40k, a frankly ludicrous amount of Team 40k. It was funny because I kept going through the stats and I was like, wow, the I.T.T. This weekend, 370 players. That's crazy. Also, Can Hammer Team Tournament, another 200 players. Okay, that's pretty big. Another 160. Battle for Salvation, another 300. So yeah, there were, I think, 4 or 5 enormous team, like super major level events this weekend. And so I think what is going to be interesting is going to be to run through the top placements in these events and talk about kind of some trends that we can see within team compositions in 40k right now in amongst these big, huge events. Now, I do want to give a shout out. A lot of these were live streamed over by other stream coverage channels on YouTube. I know that Can Hammer Team Tournament was streamed by Tabletop Live. Battle for Salvation Team Tournament was streamed by War Games Live. I don't know if if the other ones were live streamed. I guess actually, if we click on them, maybe they will tell us. This doesn't say anything, so who knows? But I'm excited to take a peek at what the current incarnation of team, 40k team compositions look like. Obviously, we are going to be on this channel. We are going to be staring down the barrel of some team compositions in end of the month. We're going to be streaming the DreamHack Invitational, or I guess it's just a DreamHack Championship this week from Dallas. That's going to be in 2 weeks' time, I believe, or 3 weeks' time. It's the second to last weekend in May, so please hang out with me. Come hang out with me for that one. I'm going to be traveling down to Dallas for that event. I'm also going to be going over to Angry Joe's again. We're going to play some tabletop games over on his Twitch channel because he's not too far away. So that's going to be fun. But we are going to be relatively team-pilled this time around. New Imperial Knights? I know. Hotel room stream. Woo. I saw very briefly the preview. We can talk about the new Imperial Knights at the end of the stream, too, if we want to. But I'm largely interested in taking a look at what we have for these 8-player team tournaments. Over here in Battle for Salvation, so this is in Nyack, New York, the Palisade Center. I've streamed there a couple times. I believe I am on the roster come this fall. I'm going to be live streaming their singles event. The way that they have it worked out essentially with us, with the coverage people, is that Wargames Live is better suited in their mind, and they're correct in this, to stream the larger multiplayer team event. I am better suited to stream the singles event. So that's what they have. That's the breakdown that they have for us. So I'm going to be back there when they run their singles major. But obviously won by Stat Check. They took down Team Art of War in the semifinal round. And the Stat Check roster, pull it up right here, is incredible. Every time StatCheck sort of assembles its team, all its powers combined, the amount of the concentration of talent is insane. So we had a couple of European players come over. Olivier Weiss, who we know as the WTC War Master from last year. Poor man got Black Templars nerfed single-handedly. We also had Nassim Fushi over there, make his way over. Innes Wilson, Josh Roberts, and then a couple of American players, obviously Anthony Vanella, Jeremy Atkinson, Trenton Bates, all getting attached to the stream as well. Absolutely crazy. And giving Jackie, giving Angron a proper send off, yeah, rocking some World Eaters. Definitely useful to have in team format because they can force like really passive matchups in a lot of situations, which is really cool. So World Eaters, Orcs, GCR Cults, Leagues of Votan, Chaos Space Marines, Astra Militarum, Blood Angels, Death Guard are the pulls here. Now, I'm interested to see whether or not Death Guard sticks around in the new Codex. I imagine that it will. I don't think it's really going anywhere, and I think it's probably just moving from strength to strength, to be honest. So I imagine that those guys are going to be sticking around. Maybe you cut a Plague Burst Crawler from your Hall Spam list. You take a Defiler in there now, but maybe a couple more Plague Marines for ranged Plague application. But otherwise, yeah, I don't believe that we are going to see these guys drop. Now, sometimes we did see Rodigus builds. This is a Rodigus build in Death Guard, and those are going to be tougher to come by because you obviously can't do that outside of their Demon Kid detachment. We got to borrow AJ's Emperor's Children army. So I don't think we're going to play 40k, chat. I'm going to disappoint you. We might if we stick around for a couple days, but I think that the stated goal was to play Breach Storm, which will be cool too. So we'll see. We'll see what they want to do when we get over to the show. So, other interesting inclusions here. Chaos Space Marines is pretty sweet. We're Rocket Creations of Bile, so we're actually taking kind of multiple of these like aggressive melee pressure lists. Blood Angels also sort of falls into the same category. We're rocking a Liberator Assault group with, kind of normal Liberator Assault group stuff. It's a lot of characters: Chief Librarian Mephiston, Dante, a Ragefield Warrior Foot Captain. Plus a chaplain. Those guys are attached into Blade Guard Veteran Squad. So we are including the sort of the classic mass like Blade Guard Veteran. But we also have a 6-man Sanguinary Guard Squad to hang out with Dante as well. So it's a little bit more of an aggressive version of the Blade Guard lists that we've been seeing that have like rocking Vindicators and backline stuff and Impulsors. This one cuts a lot of those vehicles. It takes more jump pack things. So between jump pack Assault Intercessors and Sanguinary Guard. We have a lot more aggressive stuff. That might be a concession to the terrain format. It might also just be a concession to the metagame as well. Yeah, 18 Blade Guard Veteran is kind of the stock standard for Space Marine, or for Blood Angels, I should say, this time around. They have a really, really good synergy with the Liberator Assault Group detachment ability. They're kind of like a mid. It's a mid-impact weapon, right? It has Strength 5 AP 2 damage. Downside is that Strength 5 is not that great. However, once you buff it to Strength 7 with access to Lance, suddenly it becomes phenomenal. Plus, that's a pretty high-impact attack, and so you can... adding an additional attack to that is huge as well. The Blade Guard Veteran got a big points cut in the most recent update, and so they become 160 points for 6 of them. It's a crazy good value. They come out at what is that, like 27 points or whatever, 28 points, and for a 4+ invulnerable save, a really powerful offensive profile when they charge, and 3 wound bodies, like much tougher to get through than regular Assault Intercessors. Plus baked in rerolls, so you don't necessarily need Oath of Bowman for them. It's really good. You also get some additional synergy. You get rerolls on your attached characters as well, so we can bake in a Lance or a +1 wound effect off of a Chaplain. Sometimes you see Judiciaries in there as well, so you have a good counterpunch unit. A lot of really interesting character options, and then obviously just a huge synergy with the detachment ability for sure. Yeah, Lancers coming back. Yeah, I wonder what the technology there is, besides just being really good long range guns. Vindicators is kind of like the standard, but it might be that just Vindicators are harder to hide in the terrain that they were expecting. Because I do know that Battle for Salvation terrain is definitely a little unique for sure. And then from there, we have a couple of really good sort of defenders. Brian's Sight playing Orcs is in Tactical Brigade. They're actually a pretty high-scoring army. We don't have any... This is very skewed. Okay, so there's no Stormboys in this army at all. We're playing Tactical, no Stormboys. We left them at home, boys. Who needs them? That's wild. Tactical Brigade's back, though, now that more DACA got nerfed into the sun. Big Mech and Mega Armor popping in here. Triple Shock Attack Guns. We get the Flash Kits for the Mech Captain, Big Mech, plus double Beast Boss, 2 units of Beast Snaggle Boys. Good synergy with the +1 Strength effect. And then 3 units of Tank Bust, 2 units of 5 Ludas. So just a big ol' Orc gun line is what we're playing. There's a Break a Boy squad. There's no attachment for it, right? Oh, there's a War Boss. Excuse me. There's a War Boss of the Break a Boy squad. So we do have a backline counterpunch if we need it. Yeah, that's I would say pretty standard. Leagues of Votan is kind of I think a perennial sort of 10-10 list. I would say Genestealer Cults potentially as well. Is this a Ascension Host? Yes, it is. So this is a good high-scoring army. It does run into some really awkward matchups if your opponent has the appropriate screens. See things like Omni Scrambler effects and a Phobos Librarian just makes this army want to die. But if you can dodge those, and obviously you can dodge those through the pairing process, this army is basically always going to score exceptionally highly. Whether or not it wins the game obviously doesn't matter quite so much because it's going to be able to pop out, shoot what it needs to shoot at, and then consistently like sort of tunnel crawl and regenerate its models around the table in order to score. So that's not a terrible defender list in a lot of situations if you can ace out those matchups that are really awkward. And then we have Leagues of Votan, who's also going to be a really, really good sort of inclusion for that as well. These guys are also extremely good at just 10-10ing out their games. Broke here, Iron Master, Iron Here Champion, Hearthkin Warriors ×2, triple Sagitaurs, double Chthonian Berserks ×10. There are 2 land fortresses to carry those guys around. 12 Herdkin Pioneers, 10 Herdkin Jaegers. We talked about a list that was very similar to this actually for best artists in 40k this week, and I really liked it. It was 18 Herdkin Pioneers, 4 Sagitaurs, 1 land fortress. This one I guess cuts 1 Sagitaur and 6 Herdkin Pioneers, and adds like one extra character for the cost of that, in order to get that second land fortress in, so it's a little higher damage output, but the general idea is the same, where it's just like, it's so much pressure, it scores so highly, the Herdkin Pioneers are so flexible, it just like dominates the middle of the table, opens up space for the land fortresses to just trundle forward, and if you can't deal with them, they just push you out. They just like disembark Chthonian Berserks and they beat the crap out of you and stuff. We did actually watch a list like this over the course of the weekend, although it didn't have as many Sagitaurs, I think, which hampered it a little bit. It was more focused on triple land fortress, and that definitely they fed into fire dragons pretty effectively, which is sad. But obviously that's not going to be the case for every game. Still don't understand how orc players are running 6 units of Storm Boys. That was definitely that was a consideration for a little while. I saw some people use it running like 60, like the full like brick of Storm Boys, and just impact attacking people out. I have a sneaking suspicion it has something to do with the team format, where they felt that a hard gun line that was just gonna shoot the shit out of you was gonna be more effective than something a little bit more well-rounded that's better at scoring kind of holistically. Obviously there's a lot of like internal team compositions that I don't necessarily have insight into, because that often falls into like player skill or player preference. All right, let's take a peek at I.T.T. So I.T.T. ran 6 rounds, ran to a top 8 cut, which I think played. It played to an undefeated, I guess. So Mind Goblins was the winner. Let's just grab their composition here. There's so many Mind Goblins. This is only 5 players. But I think a lot of the trends are going to be very similar. Jack Davis Fletcher over here rocking Chaos Space Marines. It is Renegade Raiders. Oh, that's interesting. So this is much more passive, it seems like. There's a Chaos Demons running Demonic Incursion. Now the Demonic Incursion lists I think are really interesting in team formats, because that is a list that's like very good at 10-10ing. Demonic Incursion is like very good at beating you by 2 points. So it's not very good at a team format for winning big numbers. I think like maybe Shadow Legion or something like a little bit more like stat checky, like a Plague Legion with their new like sort of Defiler and T13 Grand and Clue 1 builds is better at just like scoring egads of points, like beating out its good matchups. Demonic Incursion is almost always going to give up a lot of points to its opponent, but it doesn't matter so much because it's going to score a bunch of points itself. And this list is taking just a trillion utility units, so it's Bellacore, Bloodthirster, Lord of Change, Rendmaster. No Ed. Fuck that guy. Get him out of here. He sucks. See, the Cube Second didn't want to play them. Oh, they already played and then they got top cut. That's fair. I mean, that's whatever, right? Like if you already played them, like it's likely that the same thing occurs, and then everyone gets to go home, 4 hours early. So I don't think there's drama or anything there, but that does make sense. So we're running, it's a 6 of Blood Crushers plus the Red Master. There's no attachment for it, but the Red Master gives them +1 strength EP and damage on their melee attack. And the 6 of Blood Crushers obviously has the benefit that, like, when it impacts, it's going to do mortals based on unit size, not based on engagement range, which is really good. And the big benefit there too is that this is like a screen clearer, so you can rock into 5 models, like a 5 model infantry unit. There's a pretty reasonable chance that you kill it on the impact, and then you can pile into the thing behind it. So, and you can always set that up because you can 6-inch deep strike these guys and make a 5-inch charge at a deep strike for a CP, or just drop him next to Bellicor. So the Blood Crushers are an interesting inclusion. They're a little tough to maneuver, I guess, is the one scary part, but I guess we didn't run into that problem in this whatever the terrain format was here. With Flamers, Flesh Gowns ×2, they also get the benefit of the Runmaster buff, so he can buff them kind of towards the late game, and they trade really well into other utility stuff. Like they'll kill 5 Space Marines relatively efficiently, especially if you draft of terror them, so they go to AP 3. Strength 6, AP 3, 2 damage is like kind of a wild profile for these little guys for 75 points. It's like, okay, that seems good with 15 attacks. Let's go. Sometimes reroll once to hit, and then 2 it's the Seekers, so you can jail enemies on turn 1. We are running Everstave guys, so the thing that the Seekers do, and sometimes Nurglings, occasionally you'll see the big brick of Nurglings do this as well, is if the list goes first, it tries to set up a situation where the Seekers physically restrict enemy ranged attacks from getting within 18 inches of you. And that allows the Lord of Change to sort of just like go into the open and shoot on turn 1 without having to worry about the opponent shooting back. And then you just you kind of accrue a little bit of passive value. He'll kill a unit or 2 before you're able to actually engage with him. And it sets like a huge amount of tempo. Round 5 was a draw? Oh, okay. That's what their draw came from? That's fascinating. Let's grab this again. So it was Mind Goblins versus Team England. So they drew in round 4? No, round 5. Okay. Oh, and then immediately, because they had drawn, they immediately got top cut. Yeah, it's understandable. You're like, hey guys, you want to run it back? Like, not really. That makes sense. That is a little awkward. I imagine that happens quite a bit for these team competitions. It is the weird part about drawing. The differential scoring system allowing first draws so easily is that you do get situations like this that come up pretty often, right? I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing for team events though, because I feel like there's so much across between 5 and 8 games of 40k. There's so much variance that rewarding players for doing well even if they haven't perfected their opponent, I think is still pretty reasonable. So I don't know. Oops, I closed my chat now. Come back, chat. There we go. Apologies, chat. All right. What else do we have in this list? So from there, we also have, I imagine, probably a Skitari Hunter cohort. Johnny Simmons running the old Skittles, playing triple Skitari Marshal, Tech Priest Manipulus. We have a Cantic Thrallnat for the double Doctrinas, Battlesphere Uplink for jumping back into transport. Rangers ×2, Vanguards ×3, Devil Scorpios, Doom Riders, Cataphren Breachers. Whoa! I guess that's where the Manipulus goes. That's a fascinating inclusion. They don't have a ton of synergy with Skitari Hunter cohort, but it is good to have a unit that can kill people in this detachment, because sometimes they struggle. And then a trillion utility units. I think we had discovered at one point that the Adeptus Mechanicus win rate was directly proportional to the number of Taraxi, keyworded units you took in your army. We're definitely following the trend here. 10 of Sterilizers and then 15 Sky Stalkers. Double Infiltrators, Rust Stalkers, 1 Disintegrator for shooting. But this list is good at scoring and it's good at jailing you. It's just so fast. I guess we don't have a Clandestine Infiltrator, which is the other thing that can really mess with the with people's matchups into this army. So that's one thing that could like really skew the pairing process, because occasionally people just simply don't have a response for the clandestine infiltrator unit and they just get jailed. So it's interesting that we aren't playing that, but this one's a little bit more well-rounded, I guess. But again, it's like a good defender because a lot of times it can just outscore people. The Chaos Space Marine list, as we discussed momentarily here, was a Renegade Raiders, which doesn't tend to be quite as aggressive as the Creations of Bile. So I actually think that this plays a little bit like more like a normal list. And this one is just sort of like looking for midweight wins. Sometimes you can find people who struggle with transport mechanics, and that's like where you kind of like push these guys into the stratosphere. But otherwise, it's just like a good detachment. I don't know. It doesn't. I think it's more well-rounded than Creations of Bile, but definitely probably not necessarily higher scoring. Running a Dread Reaver Chaos Lord, so full rerolls when he's near your deployment zone. Cypher, double Chaos, Cultist Mobs. Kill for every chief utility is Advocate. Yeah, I mean, but like, what else are they gonna do, right? Is the question. It's one of those things where it's like, man, Adeptus Mechanicus have this one cool thing, and you're like, yeah, but they don't have anything else going for them. And you're like, oh, okay, well, fair enough. It is crazy though. Like, Tyraxes Skystalkers would be so broken in almost any other army. It's insane. Sicarians in almost any other army would be crazy. But Adeptus Mechanicus just gets to take them because they don't have anything else to be doing. We've got Legionnaires, two Rhinos, a Chaos Biker unit, triple Predator Destructors for backline, double Possessed. That's fascinating. So, we can push the Possessed really far. We can use Advanced Charge to target enemies and objectives for +1 to charge. So their base move 8 or 9, I think, and then they can go to essentially 10 and then plus 3d6. So their ability to force people off objectives is really good. Okay, so that's where I guess our pressure is coming from. So this does actually play like a Creations of Bile army. It's got very similar throw ranges. It just has better shooting. The Creations of Bile, because of the vehicle synergies, and then it has all of the cult allies. So double Rubrics, double Noise Marines that we can put inside the Rhinos. Interesting to see the Noise Marines finally sort of breaking out here now that Emperor's Children's hitting the metagame in a big way. And Emperor's Children had a great weekend in singles events too, three singles event wins. Being able to get, first of all, these guys will get Assault from the detachment ability built in, so they lose Thrill Seekers. They cannot advance and shoot normally. However, they gain Assault back, and they don't have the downside of Thrill Seekers in this detachment. Then they can also gain their +1 AP targeting enemies and objectives. And I think once you push Noise Birds to AP2, they have Ignore Cover baked in. That goes crazy. So that's pretty neat. Army-wide 5 up in Bones and DC is making it so good. Yeah, the funny thing about Adeptus Mechanicus utility stuff is that you're never like sure you're going to kill them because you're playing against Futari Hunter cohort. Everything's stealth all the time, so you're constantly into -1 to hit, and then they're into a 5+ invulnerable save, and you're like, well, I hope they don't roll just like 1% above average, because if they do, that unit lives, and then they score another secondary next turn. They body block me, they do all sorts of stuff. And you can never one-shot them. It's most of the time, they're like the equivalent of a tactical marine squad, essentially, but they're much cheaper than like equivalent tactical marines. They're worse armor saves, but generally speaking, for Sicarians and Tyraxi and stuff, they have a 5+ invulnerable save, which is a side grade. And so, like, you never quite kill them, and then they just live. It's obnoxious for sure. Danny Boy, what an RTT Saturday with Bile? Hell yeah, dude. Yeah, Bile's really good, I think, for sure right now. But I'm interested in this Renegade Raiders build, rocking these Noise Marines now. I think that's going to be a big change for Chaos Space Marines. I was talking to some people, and they were saying that maybe some other detachments are kind of unlocked by Noise Marines. Being able to muss with people's Battle Shock tests may actually be a big deal for some of the Battle Shock matters, like Dread Talons detachments. There could be builds in there that work with Noise Marines, which is cool. But obviously, like, the synergies within Renegade Raiders are very apparent. As soon as you can pump AP on Noise Marines, it goes insane. And I would be interested to see if we start to see like Terminator Sorcerer builds come out where you can pump their AP even higher. And just like any vehicle like T9 or lower just instantly vaporizes to these guys once you get to that point, which is I don't know. That seems really good. It seems pretty strong, chat. So that actually ends up, I think, playing a lot like these aggressive builds. And then we have two kind of really good scoring builds. We have a very strong ranged build here, a Retaliation Cadre, which is cool. It's actually a little bit more aggressive, which is probably good for team formats too. So Retaliation Cadre is very good at scoring. I know Jack Harpster like rocked this for a while, and it just absolutely was the most disgusting thing we'd ever seen. The dude would just like effortlessly table people by round 3. Obviously, Jack Harpster is particularly skilled, but I know Kyle Grender is a Tau faction specialist, so he's probably ready to go here. You could probably play like Kaoyans and force people into force the pairing process kind of into weird positions in order to for armies that can't deal with like ranged attacks to kind of like try to avoid a really, really big ranged brick. This one is just running heavy rail rifle broadsides. Then the rest of the army is Crisis Battlesuit teams. But the benefit here is that because you're playing more aggressively, you can run into things with like Deep Strike Denial, which I imagine, I have a sneaky suspicion would kind of be problematic for this build. But you are also more aggressive, so you're better at keeping the opponent's score down. Because you could do things like close deep strikes and up downs and steal people's objectives and stuff. We're rocking 1 Carnivore squad, a Pathfinder, 2 Pathfinder teams, plus 3 Stealth Battlesuit teams. So a ton of forward operation. And then backing that up with 5 Crisis Battlesuit squads and 2 Broadside Battlesuit teams, plus attendant characters. Yeah, so definitely, probably better at getting points than other Tau armies, but you still have to sort of approach them like a Tau army, which can throw a wrench in the works. Astronaut's arm, the next one is a combined arms, so this is like a little bit more normal. Hey, Ogre and Bodyguard technology, let's go. Let's go! Cadian Command Squad, Catachin Command Squad times 2. I wonder if that's where the Ogre and Bodyguards go. That's an interesting question. Yeah, the Catachin Command Squad scout, right? So that they can scout alongside their jungle fighters, but the Ogre and Bodyguard doesn't scout. Oops, it's Ogre and Squad. So do they? Does he have an attachment call out? I guess he joins a scouting unit, but he's weird. It's weird. Does this have loyal protectors in here? I wonder if there's a call out for that somewhere in like a rules commentary, because he's not an attached character, right? He's added to the command squad datasheet, so I don't know if he gains scout. Yeah, but it is like not in his ability track, so sometimes they have to call out where they gain the abilities, but I don't think we do that this time. So they actually would remove scout from the unit. That's a little bit weird. Maybe, I assume. I think that's how that works. Ogren does stop scout. Womp. That sucks. Anti-synergy. Yeah, right. Yeah, every model has to have it. I guess it's a strange situation because he's not like he's added to the unit, but I guess that just means that it says veteran guardsman and officer have scout 6. Ogre and bodyguard doesn't have scout 6. Which is a little bit awkward. That's okay. It does give them T6 though, and assault, I guess. Oh no, that's their leadership. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting. Take them with catechins to be a shooting platform. Are they good at shooting? Just flamers? Just a bunch of flamers? We took one plasma gun. I guess maybe I'm not seeing it, chat. Is it just that you add them to jungle fighters to get assault? Because it doesn't feel to me like there's any benefit whatsoever to taking a catechin squad over any other unit. Yeah, just gate assault. Because if we add them to, like, Cadians, right? Cadians gain, like, the auto cover bonus. So they're, like, harder to kill. Yeah. As long as they're on objective. Yeah. I guess I'm not sure I understand the synergy. Maybe I'm missing something. And it could be that, I guess, one of them has to attach into one of these cateching command squads, though. It's not like we could do one. We're taking 2 ogres and 2 cateching command squads, so there's no way we're not attaching them, I don't think. Maybe just went WYSIWYG? Yeah, potentially. Ogre and Bodyguard's cheaper than another infantry squad. Yeah, but he's different than an infantry squad. Because he's not an independent unit. He's attached. So I don't know. Like, it's 105 points for the Ogre plus the infantry squad, and they're harder to kill than a regular infantry squad. Yeah, 2 bodyguards. 2 bodyguards. Yeah. So that's my question: is if we're not attaching the catechin command squads to the units, why are we even taking them in place of Cadian command squads? Because they, unless I am missing, maybe it's a war gear thing that I don't know about. I don't think that they have literally any relevant abilities. Because they don't scout, right? I assume they don't, unless I'm missing something. And then they, I guess they keep assault. They're faster. All right. It's not a leadership ability. It's an officer ability. Okay. No, I get it. I don't. It feels a little. I guess it's like it's very corner case. It's very niche, right? Whether you actually get a benefit from that versus the cover thing, but also like the cover. You're oftentimes in cover anyway, so like, does the cover thing matter that often? I don't know. But you can advance to shoot. I know it makes you T6 yet. I understand why Ogre bodyguards are there. I even talked about it in a video. The question was the choice of command squad, but I didn't realize that the unit shoots without attaching to anything. The unit assaults without attaching to anything. So they are slightly faster than an equivalent like regular guard, like Arcadian squad, which is probably more relevant than the cover thing more often, I guess. 2 seems a bit much. I don't think 2 is like too many, especially if you're in a situation where you're trying to sort of like push the combo a little bit. I can understand it. I guess the question is like, what are they shooting, right? So there's plasma pistol, melta gun, plasma pistol, melta gun, and then las guns. I mean, all right. Oh, it's one's plasma, one's on plasma, one's on las. It's a bunch of assaulting flamers. if they attach into the infantry squads, right? But then you lose scout on 15 models. Interesting. Anyway, I don't know. This is neither here nor there. The bodyguards are weird, I guess, is the bodyguard inclusion's like really interesting. Maybe it doesn't remove scout. Does anybody know if there's like a rules commentary on that? I'm not gonna look it up right now because I don't have a screen for it. But since it's not like a leader ability, it's like it is in a scouting unit. Is there like a cutout where he maintains it? Because in that case, like this actually is sick, right? Because then you do actually get like this huge assault brick, with that also gets like the +1 toughness thing. He definitely does it. He definitely does strip scout from them. Wild, huh? Yeah, every model in the unit needs the rule, but like I don't know if there's a special case because the ogre bodyguard like. Is it like he's because he's embedded? He's not attached. I have no idea. I don't know. We've spent way too long talking about this like weird character setup. Maybe who's this? Maybe Martin Cooper wants to come tell us. Also, Martin Cooper's like Astronotar specialist. I imagine this is not like a random list that's some like Mook build. You know, obviously I think that everything has a very clear purpose in this variety. Maybe you can run in the comment section here and tell us how it works. Yeah, that's interesting. That's interesting. Might buff the bodyguard when they redo catechins. Yeah, it would probably. It's like an 11th edition thing, probably. That's a pipe dream for 3 years from now. I imagine we just get all these death core. I don't know if we're gonna turn around and start talking about new catechins or anything. Anyway, we have Rogodorn Tank Commander, Death Mask of Elanius in that guy. Is that still retain your OC even when you're battle shocked? I guess that makes total sense. Yeah, you are -1 OC while battle shocked instead of 0. That's actually really interesting because I imagine the number of times that this Rogodorn Tank Commander gets removed, it gets reduced to like 6 wounds. And then it's questionable whether or not they hold the objective that they're banking on. Obviously, it's like a point scaler enhancement, and you might as well put it on the hardest to kill character in the army. But he then just like retains the objective regardless. It's actually really cute. We've Gideon, Shark Troopers, Catching Command Squad, ×2, big 10-man Deathcore Creed. These guys are like sort of percolating back in. Seems like a lot of armies are now taking the 20-man of Deathcore as a big. I guess you get it you get to reinforce it in Combined Arms, right? And then it's also just this like big stat check brick. See if you can kill all 20 of them under the effect of take cover, probably. Torox, a Kazrikan squad, plus a bunch of tanks, triple Vanquisher, +1 LRBT, and a Calidus Assassin for utility. There's also Gonskos, I believe. There are. Look at them. So we have 2 up-downs, in addition to a reinforcing unit. So a lot of like reserve play with this build as well. 130 points is so cheap. Oh yeah, for Deathcore, for sure. It's crazy. It's crazy efficient when you think about the comparison. And then you're also like, I get 2 melta guns and 2 plasma guns that oftentimes get lethal hits. And also I'm shooting like like I first rank fire, second rank fire, and I'm shooting 16 las guns at you for 48 shots with lethals too. So like worst case scenario, I'm handing you 8 saves. If I do nothing else with the rest of all of my attacks. But like more realistically, that's probably like 12 to 15 saves over the course of that entire attack sequence. For 130 points is like, oh, sick. Obviously, it doesn't work into vehicles. It's a heavy infantry and stuff. But like, it actually is damage, and it will begin to apply damage to you, which is much more than you expect. Yeah. And they're like basically a 4+ save. You can't fade away though. You don't get fade away for free, and you don't get a single las cannon on your Brightlands platform. Yeah, I mean the unit's amazing, right? Good stuff from our friends over at the I.T.T. Let's talk about GT Mollerussa. In Catalonia. In Spain. Where is this? In Spain. Ooh. In northeast Spain. It's a gorgeous venue. So for those who don't know, by the way, 54 teams registered, 324 players. Spain has a ridiculous culture of Team 40k. It's crazy. And it's honestly like shocking to me that they don't win a WTC every year, because some of the largest events in 40k, and you don't know this, right? Because it doesn't get a lot of coverage. You may not like actually see this, but I see it. I see it, chat. Because oftentimes we're talking about singles events, we're talking about WTC, we're talking about I.T.T, American Team Circuit, all that stuff. The Spanish Team Circuit is enormous. The Spanish Team Circuit is routinely the largest events in any given weekend of 40k. And they're huge. It's just 324 players on like a random weekend. Insane. Like rivaling like huge sort of like year-ender super majors. And it's just like a random team event. You love to see it, chat. Red Ribbon Kraken. Won it. This one's a 6-man, it looks like, rather than 8, so probably allowed for a few more teams in there. Do you want to gush about Flyblow now? Some Nintendo 2-box rats? That does seem cool. Running some new Emperor's Children, very cool. Chaos Knights, an incredible stat check as well. Blood Angels, Eldari, Adeptus Custodes, and Chaos Space Marines. A little bit of overlap there. A lot of Chaos. We're running Chaos today quite a bit. Chaos Space Marines are running Creations of Bile, so another very aggressive sort of melee build. Is this like normal stuff? It is. It's 20 Warp Talents. 2 units of 5 and a unit of 10. The Warp Talents are pretty common inclusion, who are they do get like huge statistical improvements from the detachment ability, and then they also, and it obviously can like roll that into up down when they kill people. So that's like a huge combination, and can really skew a lot of matchups, especially. I think this is probably like a little bit of an answer to kind of like high score matchups where they're trying to attrition you down with like a mass of utility units. So things like things like this Skitarii Hunter Corridor that we just talked about, like it doesn't matter if you're taking a bunch of Skitarii guys. 10 Warp Talents are going to straight up kill those Skitarii guys, and they're going to be immuted to reciprocation, right? We also have the normal possessed brick. So those guys are able to attrition you over the course, which is cool. So instead of just playing like purely an aggressive build, we can play a little bit more of this like finesse game and answer some of those like really sort of like base what's the word? Those really like MSU. I just like lost the train of thought. The brain train left the station. The like MSU builds where you're taking a bunch of scoring, which is a little bit more like sort of finesse oriented. Would I have to be out of the room? I don't know. When they come get me, I guess. We'll find out, I suppose. I'm not going to be here for super long, chat. I'm all packed up, so I can just like take off whenever I need to. But I'm gonna be hanging out for as long as I can, essentially. Lions of the Emperor, also seeing some play. Don Eagles, Jet Bike Shield Captain. We actually watched this guy, Stephen Henry, play him, and I think he's really cool. Steven's dice like kind of betrayed him a little bit, but having being able to Gilded Champion that dude to constantly be jumping back and forth, so you can preserve him in a way that you can't do most beat stick characters, gets you multiple activations out of Admata Mortis. And so that guy's swinging at, what's the number? Strength 10, AP 3, 3 damage with Lance. So like his capacity to do murders is insane, and then the fact that you could constantly be like, you know, sort of in-outing Bluetooth car audio stream. You don't want that, dude. His ability to be able to constantly be jumping in and out of combat is huge too. Alara's Shield Captain, double Blade Champions, Custodian Guard Squad, Alara's Custodians, double Wardens, Prosecutors, double Purchase Praetors, Witch Seekers, and Inquisitor Draxus. So mostly also normal stuff. Normal Alliance of the Emperor stuff. I imagine Chaos Knights is Chaos Knights things. Yeah. Uh-oh. What's these? Excuse me, Jeff. This one's bringing actually a bunch of allied greater Chaos Demons. We watched a similar list to this play at Battle 10 Alzheimer's, actually, with all of thank you, Jeff, with all of the Nurgle demons, 6 Nurglings, 10 Plague Bears, Beast of Nurgle, as well as Rodigus is super cool. Rodigus adds like a really, I think it's sort of an additional metric to the army that is a little different. And then, so very aggressive play from all of the these melee armies. We're taking Blood Angels as well. So Chaos Space Marines, Emperor's Children, Blood Angels, all like hyper aggro. Eldar playing Devoted Veniad, which is good at scoring. It is bringing the 10-man Fire Dragon brick to like push our lethal intent even farther. Do we also have the 10-man Incubi brick? Yes. Double 10-man's chance. But this is like a much more, I think, well-rounded sort of scoring army. Eldar, I think, are always going to be highly scoring. And especially these Yunari lists that can kind of utilize their utility units and convert them into movement for the rest of the team. Obviously makes a ton of sense in that capacity. And then I imagine we're just playing like a coterie build here. Yeah. Only 2 Winged Demon Princes. Where are we putting that money? We can't take Chaos Knights. It's all Noise Marines, I guess. Yeah. All noisy boys today. I'm a little curious about. I think Noise Marine, like Mass Noise Marine, definitely feels very good into a team format where you can ensure that you get matchups that Noise Marines are good into. And obviously, like, there are some matchups that super don't want to see Noise Marines. Again, it's a little bit like it's a concession to those like high scoring MSU builds where you are the Noise Marines are so good at killing. Like if you play like 5 or 10 like 3 or 4 plus save 2-1 guys, Noise Marines are going to vaporize you. That's exactly what they want to see. So if you're playing an army that's like relying on those to constantly do damage, you're just playing into Coteries like army ability, right? So like, oh, I'm playing Skutari and I'm playing a bunch of 5-mans, or I'm playing Ultramarines and I have like a bunch of utility or whatever. The Noise Marines are so good at killing you, that's going to increase pledge count and that's going to buff the melee stuff. So then they come in at the late game and you just die. Right, so in that sort of case of team format feels interesting. I'm a little worried about triple Noise Marine in terms of singles event play, just because I do think that there are so many bad matchups for their particular offensive profile. It could run into situations where they just don't do anything. We played one of those on stream. If you have like the Eternal Fortune Lord Cacophonous, like there's always something you can do with at least one unit, but shooting into like T10 or T10 or 2+ like save AOC kind of things means that the Noise Marines just bounce, and you're putting a bunch of points and a bunch of like army space into these units that are like really one-dimensional. But in the context of a team format, triple Noise Marine sounds amazing actually. So I don't know, Chit, seems pretty good. So that's actually really a unique composition. I'm interested to see what the Unicorn list is. The other undefeated. This is so there's a couple ongoing trends here. Custodes Eldar, also seeing some play. And also devoted to Vediad, so I imagine a very similar composition. Custodies, I guess, are also pretty good at just like if you need a high damage output, especially Lions of the Emperor Custodians, because you get advancing charge multiple times on your Blade Champion units, and you get +1 to wound situationally if you can set it up with your Warden units. So your output for that army is crazy. So they beat a lot of stat checks, which I think helps in the team format quite a bit. This build is taking Chaos Demons. It's a Shadow Legion with 10 Warp Talons. This is sick. So we can Lance the Warp Talons. It's interesting. It's basically doing the same thing that the Chaos Space Marine list that we just talked about is doing, right? It's able to like punish those MSU armies. And we can potentially, in this list, we can fade 2 units. And you can buff the Warp Talons with the Lance strat as well. So we have 2 units that can kill enemies and go into reserve. So your attrition game is like crazy. You have a bunch of scoring potential, lots of forward operation, base of Nurgle and Nurglings, plus Blood Litter unit that can disrupt an objective once per game. And then they die, because they're T4 with 1 wound. And then we have a little bit of shooting for Warlock Brigands. This is cool as well, actually. We also have Mantle of Gloom, which is the Mortal Wound aura, I believe, off of Lord of Change. Or excuse me, it's the OC Reduction aura off of Lord of Change. What's interesting is I'm so curious about this technology because this is not the first time we've seen it. Lord of Change is such an interesting place for it, but the Lord of Change does have good synergy with Bellicor because either getting reroll once they hit on the Lord of Change is huge because his sustain is enormous, so any chance you have to roll an additional 6 is big. In addition, this dude, like, you want to build a shooting platform that you can fire out of without your opponent being able to shoot back. So if you say, hey, you can't shoot me outside 18 inches, and also I'm going to put a million Nurglings at 18 inches, so you can't take the table space to attack me, just like we talked about with the Seeker list with Demonic Incursion. There is synergy there as well. But this Mantle of Glue is, like, fascinating, because I think the Lord of Change is just a caddy for it, and he's just one of the cheaper greater demons you can put it on. You don't want to be putting it on like a Demon Prince or something that's relatively expensive and kind of squishy. At least the Lord of Change has 18 wounds. And he also has like present synergy with the other stuff. And then being able to buck with people's OC like helps you retain objectives much more easily. This enhancement is probably like highly underrated. Everyone gets, I think, like Leaping Shadows and Fates of Darkness are crazy, but it's a -1 OC effect. I think the original intention was that you put it on like a Nurgle demon and he takes objectives from people. But it's a -1 OC effect. It's not a half OC effect, so it can reduce you to 0. So you can entirely lose your capacity to take objectives from this demon army. Demons do have a bit of an OC problem. They're some units are good at it, like their battle line units are good at it. But for the most part, all their utility is like OC1, just like OC1, the little guy, little goobers. And so being able to reduce OC nearby is huge. It is engagement range though, so you have to charge people with your Lord of Change. I mean, maybe it's fine. He just like eats, attacks with the Bloodthirster, I guess. Hey, body blocks. Get down, Mr. President. Orcs rocking War Horde. So this is where our kind of aggro matches are coming from. War Horde with tank busters. And then Imperial Knights with Armigers. So we're kind of able to do our Chaos Knights thing that the other list was playing, but we're able to also retain Chaos Knights for the Demon player. So that's nice. Plus Ultramarines, Gladius Task Force, just normal stuff. This is we're gonna get some 20-0s out of this list probably, by killing people. Oh, good stuff, chap. So Chaos Space Marines, definitely an interesting trend. They have a lot of like really relevant builds for these team formats. Chaos Demons, obviously, I think are like perennially going to be good. Like high score stuff like Eldar and Adeptus Mechanicus. So the inclusion of like Ynnari is a new development, not necessarily super new. And then obviously like Chaos Demons having so many wide builds that can fulfill a lot of roles inside these armies is really cool. I like these Adeptus Custodes lists too, because I do think that they definitely throw some wrenches in the works if your opponent doesn't have appropriate like heavy infantry clearing. Being able to dodge like the exocrines of the metagame, I think, is really big for that army, because you can your wardens will last more than like 2 phases essentially into those matchups. Anyway, chat. Is there anything else that we want to talk about real quick here? I think we are going to wrap up momentarily. Interesting team lists from this weekend. For the most part, I think there are definitely some through lines that we could expect from the like the previous metagame. But it is cool to see some of the new developments come in. I think this is going to get shaken up so much once new Death Guard and World Eaters hit the table, because they're going to present an entirely new avenue for spamming stuff. Whether that's like the Demonkin builds, although that's going to steal your Chaos Demons away. Actually, it doesn't, right? Because those don't share a faction keyword. So you actually get access to like Rodriguez and Scarbrand multiple times in the new codexes, which is kind of huge. That like blew my mind, actually. I didn't think about that at all. Yeah, Red Tide, like a million Berserkers could be good. There's probably a Carnival of Excess in there somewhere. Josh Robertson, over the course of this weekend, for those who missed it at Richmond Open, gave us an absolute showcase of Carnival of Excess. He went down to Space Wolves on stream because I don't think he was super familiar with the matchup, which is fair. He basically got rinsed by a Rapid Ingress squad on turn 1, the Wolf Jail squad, coming out of a Strategic Reserve. Which is, like, if you haven't seen it before, like, I mean, fair enough. It's, like, weird to have to screen your Rapid Ingresses in bottom 1. And it was not a good mission for it. Search and Destroy is, like, really, really strong for that play, which is what he played on. So it was a tough situation. But the fact that Carnival gets Demonettes for cheap and can 6-inch Deep Strike them is kind of nuts. Plus, they get Sustain 2 Noise Marines. So it's like good at that infantry sweeping, and it's good at scoring itself. There's something there for sure, especially in a team format where both of those things are really powerful, right? You can punish the medium infantry like MSU builds, and you also get your own aggro high OC units on top of that. So you also are able to like pull those 10-10s where you constantly keep people off balance and scoring. So I think that's almost certainly, I think, going to see some play in the future. And I would be curious to see whether or not like Death Guard World Eaters does some stuff. Should we talk about this new Knight, chat? I think we should. New Knight came out today. The Imperial Knight Defender. So I guess from what I've gathered, I haven't read this article yet. From what I've gathered, it's a support focused knight, which is pretty wild, dude. It's always been, I guess, like the Knight Paladin, or not, the Preceptor is kind of meant to be that, right? Because he previously had like he had litany abilities that he could provide. I'm interested about like this kind of archetype in 40k and whether or not it works. We already see it with the Knight Abominant. The Knight Abominant, I think, in 10th edition worked because it had a psychic phase to work on. But being essentially a purely utility like support piece on a Titanic chassis is a tough sell, dude. Like you need to be independently good at attacking yourself before you can start buffing other people. So I don't know. We'll see. Any idea how to start a good World Eater army for the Demon Detachment? I don't know if I have. I have to play some games with World Eaters. I'm planning on doing it this week. If I get home in a reasonable time frame, I may even play tonight. If I have the energy. I slept like 4 hours, so I'm I'm a little sleepy. If But I'm excited to play World Eaters and to get some reps in with the new codex because I do. And I was talking to people over the weekend. I heard a couple of people who had the similar thought, where it's like, is this a Grey Knights and Thousand Suns situation? Where in 9th edition, for those who don't know, Grey Knights and Thousand Suns came out. Grey Knights looked fucking stupid. They were like, okay, it's like this weird like melee infantry list. All right, dude. And then Thousand Suns came out and were like, psychic fucking damage, bro. We're gonna do mortal wounds and you're gonna explode. And people were like, this is crazy. Thousand Suns are gonna be so broken. Nerf, please. Grey Knights, trash codex, throw it in the garbage. When it came out, Grey Knights fucking dominated for like 2 months. They just won everything. No one played Thousand Suns basically until the end of the edition. It was just like on paper, the codexes just did not seem to be the commensurate power level. Turns out everyone's perception was totally wrong. Some people were like, Relators seem like they're pretty good. I don't know. I heard some people talking about like, dude, the like mass Land Raider builds, Forge Feed builds, like you play World Eaters gun lines and Gortrak Onslaught. The Demon Kid build has some play as well. I was like, oh, well, maybe that could be interesting. So I have no idea, to answer your question, I have no idea how to build them right now. I will need to do some thinking for sure. I would say if you're brand new to the army, I would play Berserker Warband first, and then like get your feet under you. I think the Demonkin list you're gonna have to jump through some hoops to play the Demonkin list, especially if you're new to like 40k in general. And Berserker Warband's like much more straightforward, but if you're hard set on the Demonkin list, like Scarbrand and a Bloodthirster is probably a good place to start. I think for demon stuff, plus like 2 Bloodletter units most likely, and then back it up with guns. Scarbrand is the new Angron, yeah, for sure. Triple max 8-bound with Slaughterbound? With Slaughterbound actually fair on the tabletop? How many points is that though? That's like almost 1,100 points. You take 3 Forge Fiends and you're like 1,600. I don't know. You have like 6 units in that army. The 8-bound feel like, I don't know, they feel like 3s and they just like wander around and they like kill particular things. I don't know about 8-bound. Well, we'll see. Anyway, what is this guy rocking? A Conversion Beam Obliterator. Are we going to see conversion, the conversion weapon keyword, come back? Currently only exists in the Votan index. A weapon. I love the weapon keywords that are. They act like weapon keywords, but they aren't in the core rulebook because they only show up one place. That's sick. As a Void Shield generator mounted on Chop, providing even greater protection than the usual Iron Shields. So it says envelop nearby allies. Do you think this thing affects non-faction units, chat? Do you think this thing could give invuln saves to, like, Militarum, maybe? Or, like, Mechanicum vehicles and stuff? Big Castellan on the cover. Let's go. With the arrival of Knight Defender, the Crystor's Knight Kit will be split into 2 separate releases. Both boxes have all the parts necessary to build Paladin, Errant, Warden, Gallant, Crusader. One will contain a new sprue to build the Defender. The other can be assembled as a Preceptor or Canis Rex. Oh, they're repacking the original Crystor's Knights? Alright, well that's cool. It's a little confusing, though, but that's good for people who like magnetization. You can build like a million different things out of the one kit. Void Shield's always been an X area, gets an invuln, it gets ranged until X wounds are done, and then it blinks. I think the 9th edition had a literal Void Shield generator. Right? What was the mechanic for that? I think it was literally just an invulnerable save. Void Shields, like previously, were it was a whole mechanic where you would lose things, but I think there was. Okay, thanks, 9th edition Wikipedia, you're the best. There was actually a. Oh, I think it's because I took Legends out. Void Shield generator, there it is. So it was a permanent. Well, you're wholly within aura range. You get a permanent 5+ invulnerable save, and as it's damaged, the aura reduces. So you could see something similar where it like projects. Here's what I imagine: 5+ invulnerable save to everything wholly within some, or to everything within like 6 or 8 or 9 or something. Probably 9 because it's a big knight. They usually like to extend their auras a little bit because it's tough to maneuver them. If you already have a 5+ invulnerable save, you get a 4+ instead, or maybe Questoris and Dominus Chassis get a 4+, period. So it doesn't give a 4+ to non-allies. Then the range reduces when you are damaged. Like that in the damaged characteristic, it says -1 to attack rolls. Also, the range of its whatever Void Shield ability reduces to X. That's what I think. If it does, everyone will run it. I mean, maybe it's a quarter of your army. Is a quarter of your army worth buffing, another third of your army? You could also just be taking more vehicles for that value. I think it would be interesting if it did, because I think like enabling weird builds out of cool synergies like that is something that 40k doesn't do anymore, which I would prefer that they did. So I'd like to see it do something like that, but we'll see. On a Titan or Mastodon, they would disappear. Yeah, so Titans. Yeah. Titans also had the same Void Shield mechanic in 9th edition. I really liked it in 9th edition. It was really weird. They would absorb. It wasn't wounds. It was essentially like an additional model in your unit, effectively, that had an invulnerable save. So, like, I remember Astreus, because I played the fuck out of Astreus in 9th edition. Astreus had two 3-wound Void Shields, I think. So they would absorb damage up to 3 wounds with a 5+ invuln. So you could shake it. If you didn't, and let's say you ate a railgun shot that was like d6 + 6, it would kill the 3-wound Void Shield like model essentially, and then the Void Shield would collapse, and you would progress to the next layer of Void Shields. If you didn't kill them, they would regenerate though at the start of the turn. If you didn't collapse them, they would come back. So if you like plinked them for a couple and then didn't do the 3rd wound, the Void Shield would go back to 3 wounds. It was a really, really cool mechanic. It was very evocative. 8th and 9th edition had a lot of that stuff, but obviously in the effort to simplify the game, they've removed a bunch of that. It would be cool to see that mechanic return. I don't think that they would do it as a huge broadcasted aura that this dude can like project to a bunch of units. I would shock me if they did that. But in any case, I think Void Shields are probably too far. Like they're too few and far between in 10th to like really, I think, build a mechanic around them specifically. That was like a real Imperial armor kind of thing that they did that in 9th. But that seems like it's relegated mostly to like Horus Heresy now these days. It says even greater defense. Yeah, so that's what I was saying. Like, oh, you might be right, chat. Maybe it just affects. So that's what I was saying. Like, I think Questoris and Dominus Chassis probably go to a 4+ like permanently while they're near him. But then it wouldn't work on Arbingers at all. So I wonder if it's just like if you have an invulnerable save, you get a 4+, or you get +1, or at the very least it's a 5+. I don't know. Like you get +1 to your save to a minimum of 5+, I guess. Abominate will have the save ability. Yeah, it's just psychic keyworded. Fucking goddamn it. Stupid. Everybody loves a psychic keyword ability for no reason. It's dumb. Alright, chat. I think with that, I'm probably going to go ahead and wrap this stream up, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for hanging out with me today, folks. Maybe the 4+ is a bondsman ability. Oh, I wouldn't like that. That'd be a little silly. Like, how does he projecting a field? Oh, they're gonna kick me out here. How is he projecting a field that's then going to become it's gonna project like with the unit? All right, chat. I'm gonna go ahead and wrap up so I can get out of here.